Welcome to the Intoxication Station. I'm Raymond with returning guest Ryan. Ryan, how we doing today?
What's going on,
Not
buddy?
much. So, for reference for my listeners, this is our first recording that we've had for the 2025 year, and boy howdy has it been a rough start for everyone. Yeah, I don't even know where to start off at. Between
God.
let's see, the two quasi-domestic terrorist attacks on January 1st, the fires going on currently as of recording, and that's pretty much engulfed all of the LA County area of California. Drones, that's a thing.
Polar
vortexes, yeah, it's gotten cold in Florida. I'm surprised it's not a much smaller state considering how cold it's gotten here.
They're saying we could expect snow on Tuesday or Wednesday here.
So they've been talking about the whole snow thing over here in Florida, up in the Panhandle, being the north section of Florida, and I don't know. I just don't believe it. Until I see snow on the ground, that's snow. Not someone with really bad dandruff just trying to air their hair out with light flurries and whatnot.
I've only seen a flurry of snow in Florida one time, and it melted before it hit the ground. Snow-ish.
Which, I mean, it's been a very interesting year to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, you feel bad for anyone that has to go through a natural disaster. I mean, we're all Americans. No one to see anyone suffer. But, I mean, the fires out there just leveled everything. And I know they arrested like 24 people they suspect for arson in that area. But, man, in a weird way, you almost wonder if it's Gavin Newsom's way of getting rid of the homeless problem in Los Angeles by not filling the levees with water.
Well, I mean, so between that, all the insurance companies backing out a month prior for any kind of fire coverage because it wasn't considered a dangerous area for it, or whatever the case may be, all the levees being at peak drought levels, and it's just a lot going on over there.
They go through this every year.
Nope.
It's like they have a fire season. There's hurricane season in the south. There's tornado. How do you know when those are going to pop up? You just don't know where. Like clockwork, every year there's always massive wildfires in California.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like you said, almost to an annual basis, especially during the wintertime. But
yeah,
I mean I'm
sure that this is going to lead to a growth of fire retardant products they sell in order to build your house. And it's going to be legally required to include those items or that type of material in any home being built in those counties going forward.
That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, hell, they do it in Florida already with all the hurricane straps that you need, all the hurricane pads for any kind of utilities that are outside the house. Like, it's legally mandated in the state of Florida to have that kind of equipment. So it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm sure there'll be city ordinance issues where they have to not allow people to have trees in their yard or grass or anything just to keep anything from burning in the future. It's going to be decorative rocks everywhere or something
Which, I mean, they already do that in Arizona, but for different reasons. Out in Arizona, they do it because it's a desert.
Yeah.
Which, you can water rocks all day, nothing's going to grow. Which, I mean, it works for that climate out there, and I guess SoCal has to take that in consideration as well, too, because, aside from all the legal issues and all the politic issues that they have out in California, it really is a beautiful state. I've been out there on multiple occasions on different parts of California, and it really is a beautiful state out there. Yeah, coming from Florida.
It looks gorgeous. I hear the weather's perfect year-round. I got a hard time trying to get myself to go and spend money in that state.
Well, I mean, kind of like... I hate to use other places that are in destitute and whatnot, but if you go over to, the Dominican Republic in Haiti, that island, DR apparently is a beautiful place as long as you stay on the resorts. Yeah, same thing with Haiti as well, too. Yeah. As long as you stay in the resort areas, you're fine. The moment that you get off resort property, that's when all hell breaks loose.
I hear that a lot. It's another reason that, go visit the DR. No, not particularly. You want to see a borderline, demilitarized zone, I'd rather stay home. But with everything that's happened so far this year, I mean, here we're filming, what is it, January 18th. I want to say something that may not strike well with a lot of people, but I am sick and tired of hearing our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Los Angeles. We stand with the people in Los
Well,
Angeles. Last I checked, thoughts and prayers don't do a
it,
whole lot except make you
well,
feel
all it
better.
does is spread awareness, which, I mean, it's no different than us talking about it, really, especially here on a media platform. But the thing that I have a hard time with, personally, is from the first recording that we did at Hagen O'Reilly's over in Winter Garden a few months
Mm,
back after Hurricane Helene came through. There's
yeah.
still people that are like living out of campers, living out of tents and whatnot up in uh, Asheville, South Carolina right now, or Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
So for the major response teams that are supposed to be handling that stuff like that, they're doing a piss poor job at best. It's almost like if they had, I don't know, $12 billion in extra surplus to be able to handle these people, naturalized citizens of the United States, that
Hmm.
they would, I don't know, be able to get stuff done. Do you know where 12 billion can come from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would first start off with stop doing sex changes for soldiers and for prisoners, and make sure that all the soldiers that come back from overseas missing arms and legs have the proper prosthetics before you even start delving into gender reassignment
Hmm.
surgery. That would be one of the first things
Yeah.
I do, and stop misappropriating money that way. But like I say the thoughts and prayers things because no one's ever been helped out or fed or kept warm or dry from a load of thoughts and prayers arriving on
Oh,
a
yeah.
Tuesday. Like if you want to help out, send money. There's plenty of websites you can go to that are run by nonprofits that you can donate to. Send money, send water, send time, send if you live close by,
Hmm.
help them. But maybe it just irritates me because it's been 20, 25 years of our thoughts and prayers, just people injecting themselves into it. But if you can't do anything, don't do anything. If you want to talk
Hmm.
about it. I'm just tired of hearing our thoughts and prayers. We're sending thoughts and prayers. It seems to be the knee-jerk reaction to anything that happens now. Our thoughts and prayers with the people of
Well,
what
it's the laziest way to. It's like saying I'm sorry.
it's like saying God bless you when someone
Hmm.
sneezes now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like it's just filler. It's really filler in this
Hmm.
in at this point in time, especially with social media being a big thing. Yeah, I'm kind of accused of it myself, but like it's just filler. It's just filler. Like if you want to donate, donate, but you really have to look at the organizations that you're donating to, especially nowadays,
Yes,
because
make sure it's a nonprofit that's you'll actually recognize, not something that started last
mhm,
week, just trying to cash in and take all the
yeah.
money. But yeah, it's rough. I can't imagine if I came home to absolutely nothing. Like I'd be all right, but losing everything you own is devastating. And there's certain things you can always replace and insurance will cover, but you worry more about those things that have sentimental value you'll never be able to
Hmm.
replace, you'll never see again. I'm sure you're still the age that I am where you might have photo
Hmm.
albums, that before you had cameras on your phone and you'll never have those pictures replaced or
Oh
anything like
yeah.
that.
Well, especially when it's pictures of loved ones that aren't around anymore.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
there's no amount
Or
of Photoshop or AI that can regenerate that moment in time.
or things passed down.
Hmm.
Yeah, things passed down from your relatives that, they've been in the family for 50, 70, 100 years plus, and they're gone. Like, I think those hurt more than
Hmm.
anything else by far. I don't care less about my TV or anything. As long as I have the dog, get him out. That would be the only thing I really care about at this
Right.
point. Everything else can go away. I'll get more.
Well, especially when it's all preventable. That's probably the biggest issue that I have with it. Because a lot of what I've seen so far as like different reports from different media outlets, people that are actually on the ground doing stuff, like a lot of the stuff could have been prevented through like controlled burns and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know how controlled burns are going to work in a lot of those neighborhoods that went up like timber.
So
And I don't mean the app,
yeah,
but yeah.
equally as deadly. But as far as like any of the controlled burns, I mean, we do it in the state of Florida all the time. Granted, yeah, a little bit of different climate than what California has, especially in the SoCal area. But it just goes to show that if you let Mother Nature take care of itself throughout the year, it'll take care of you. But if you prevent nature from doing nature stuff, she's gonna kick back tenfold. And that's exactly what's happening over there.
Now, I'm not as aware of, I'm sure it's in Los Angeles or the Palisades where it is. I'm relatively certain it's a somewhat suburbanized, or inner city element. I'm not sure how much controlled burn you can do within those limits that would have prevented it.
Right.
But certainly on the outskirts where it may have started. But from what it sounds like, a lot of these things may have been led back to arson that started inside those
Oh yeah,
areas.
and a lot of it.
And I hope they nail them all to I hope they nail them all to a
Mhm.
wall. But at the same point, you charge him with all the murder or all the death that goes in there as murder,
Well, between all the
and
death,
hopefully make an example
all
of
the
these
property
people.
damage that goes along with it too. Because you're dealing with, yeah, with the current real estate value of everything that's in California. I mean, hell, an underpass costs $5,000 a month over there. You're looking at billions
Hmm.
upon billions of dollars, which makes it even worse that the only assistance that anyone's getting over there is a $700 payment one time from
From
FEMA,
FEMA. Yeah, from FEMA.
and you have to pay it back. That's the craziest part. From my understanding, anyways. I could be incorrect on that, but I'm pretty sure you got to pay that back.
I don't know. Now, we've had FEMA come through when the hurricanes went through, through Houston and up here, and they had FEMA payments for people who were affected. It didn't say anything about having to pay it back, but a lot of people that could have applied for it and that did were denied
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So I think we've ever had to in the past, living in Florida, when we got to.
Yeah, like,
This could also be something different.
exactly. Because there's been a lot of talk going on with like the city of LA going through and having talks about a smart city,
Mm.
and it just so happens to line up that everything with the fires that's going on out there just so happens to coincide with all the smart city plans that have been going on for a couple of years, and the lack of the drought or the lack of water in all the levees and everything that are over there. There's just too many things. Yeah, tinfoil hat time and whatnot, but there's just too many things that are coincidental that add up to the situation that's going on.
Well, I wouldn't put it past someone to try something
Hmm.
like that. Although knowing how many people would be potentially affected or not survive, that's some James Bond
Hmm.
villain shit. And if that is the case, they got a place next to Epstein, someplace for him in a jail cell where he'll be
Hmm.
found, by
Oh yeah.
himself, yeah, in the next 15 hours.
It's not like that this is the one-off occurrence either. I mean, same thing happened out in Maui not that long ago. Yeah, something very similar. A tropical island that catches fire, and it just so happened to target a specific area where a lot of wealthy individuals wanted to build multi-million dollar houses out there, but they couldn't get permission from the state government, even though prior to at least 2004, you had to be a native of Hawaii to be able to own property out there. If
Hmm.
not, you had to do X number of year leases. I believe they went up to 100-year leases, and that was the extent of it. Now, once again, tinfoil hat, but I'm just saying, like, there's a little bit more going on out there than what I know or what any of us know for that matter.
If enough money's involved, you can't count anything off the table, that's
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's just, it's been a wild year so far. I mean, a wild year.
18 days in. Can't wait to see the rest of it.
So many more to go. So many more to go. So much more wild shit to see. Speaking of, President
Hmm.
elect Donald Trump gets inaugurated on the 20th, I believe,
In
in
2 days,
2 days.
on Monday, yes, sir.
So, if you think it's been a bumpy ride so far, I have a feeling that stuff's going to get even bumpier at either day of or after.
I just turned off Fox News before we were doing this, and they were showing thousands of protesters in the streets already protesting his inauguration. And I heard on Friday they had to move it indoors because of the weather. And I was thinking, that's probably a smart idea to do
Mm-hmm.
anyway, given the fact that, there's already been, they're 0 for 2 trying to take him out already, and he hasn't taken the office.
Mm-hmm.
Another time he's out in the open, I was thinking, man, I might just want to watch live TV of that all day long. So you don't know what's
Oh
going to
yeah.
happen. But I'm glad they moved it inside. So hopefully nothing crazy pops off, a third time because no one wants to see that kind of thing.
One can only hope. You know, one can only hope everything goes smooth from there. Because I mean, it's not like that. Us as Americans have had it easy the past couple of years. The last thing that we want to
Mm,
do as a nation, really, yeah, semi-level-headed nation, is to go through and make stuff even harder on us. I mean, shit, we already got billions of dollars going out to different countries at this point. Financially, we should be in a recession that's rivaling 2007 through 2009. But yet, everyone's just poking along. Oh, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh, yeah, why not pay $2,600 a month for a one-bedroom apartment and pay power on top of it?
yeah.
Yeah, because that's totally normal. That's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, everything's on fire. No pun intended, but everything's
I
fine.
was I was looking at houses maybe up to about a couple years ago, and even brand new developments that were getting built, the plots are already spoken for by developers or organizations that will buy the home and then
Mm-hmm.
rent them out. So it's so hard just trying to go out and just buy a
Oh,
house
yeah.
because some other corporations already come in there and bought plots of them like in
Mm-hmm.
rows that they already plan to rent out as rental properties. And I'm not saying it's illegal now. It shouldn't be legal, but it's driving the price of everything else up. I mean, hell, even just I was looking at some very nice manufactured homes just to see, what I could find out there relatively close. And even these that are very nice, they still are 120,
For a
$130,000, and
manufactured
you're
home.
almost well, you figure you get the house, you're already put into a
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood, so you're paying for the plot. I say plot. It's not like it's trailer park. It's actually a very nice neighborhood. They have
Yeah, for
tenants
the
for 'em.
for the
But I
lot.
mean, you're looking at single wide, double wide. It sounds kind of trashy, but these single wide and double wides, they're energy efficient, very nice homes. They just get trucked in, sat down, and
Well,
set
I
up.
mean, honest,
But even the ones that
honestly, some of the manufactured homes are built better than some of the homes that are going up that are slab on grade.
I walked through. I think it was a Clayton Homes that's near us over here, and I really liked a couple different floor plans they had. And when we were together at the time, my wife and I were looking at that. We looked at one in particular, and we're trying to get put into this neighborhood that's maybe 20 minutes from here. And we drove over the neighborhood to see everything, and I was like, wow, this actually looks like a very nice, almost like a golf club
Mm-hmm.
community. But it's just lined with all these homes from Clayton and like two or three other home providers. But I did not go into that process expecting much. I figured to go in there and see exactly what you'd think when you think of a manufactured home or, a trailer or whatever. But you can't tell when you're in them. It looks like a normal house. It was fairly
One of
impressive.
my buddies over here in Florida, hoping to do an episode with him. Great story about his life. He basically grew up in the hood as an adopted kid, and now he's like CFO of one of the. If I remember correctly, he was applying for CFO of Chick-fil-A at one point, and he went through the interview process. It's been a while since I've talked to him. Like, he has a
Hmm.
kid now, happy wife, happy life, home in Windermere. Like, he's done really well for himself over the years. But his mother, she did a manufactured home, and it was a triple wide. I don't know if you've seen one of those
Hmm.
monstrosities, but I got lost in it. Whenever she first moved in, I was helping them out, hauling in stuff and whatnot, and I got lost in the fucking house. Like, it was a 6-bedroom
Hmm.
triple wide. That thing was fucking nice on the inside.
It's impressive out here with some of the setups you see because you get a lot of people that'll buy land. I mean, you can buy land out here in some areas for $20,000, $18,000. Not a whole lot, a
Mm-hmm.
couple acres. You just have to clear it off and then put a trailer on it until you build a house, which is what a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
people do. And then they'll leave the trailer in the back or
Yeah, it's a
whatever.
mother in law suite.
Those trailers the trailers they buy, are not the 75 to $130,000. They're more like the 35, which is fine if you're going to be building a house on it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of places if you just buy your land, they take money off the price of the home because what they'll basically do is I think finance it against the property. So that way, if anything goes wrong, they own the property if you back out or you can't pay the payment note on
Mm-hmm.
the home, which is smart in theory, but at the same point, there's the land they have out here is not exactly in the best areas. Not that it's rough or anything. There's nothing. You gotta get the water and everything put out there too. But it's not terribly far away. Given my isolationist ideal, well, obviously right now, I wouldn't really necessarily mind it, but I'm comfortable.
Oh yeah. Well, especially
Well,
if you're close
well,
to work and whatnot.
everything I need is within 5 or 7 minutes of my spot. Work is a 7 minute drive. Everything else I need is within five
Nice,
minutes. And I don't think I spend more than 10 minutes in the car a day.
nice.
It's awesome. It's nice. I'm spoiled now because I remember driving 45 minutes everywhere in
Oh yeah.
Florida. Everything took 30 minutes, 45
Which is
minutes.
crazy by comparison because you're in Texas. I I'm in Florida and everything's 20 minutes away. Like hell, it's a 20-minute walk anywhere, it's a 20-minute drive anywhere. Like from a from an infrastructure standpoint, I get it. We have lots of bodies of water that the roads have to be built around and whatnot. But I mean, truth be told, a lot of Orlando really isn't designed for the population that we have currently.
No, and it's certainly not the road construction that seems to be costly. I've seen a meme a couple of years ago that said, "Did you know that if you're traveling I-4, Orlando is only 1 hour away from
Mm-hmm.
Orlando?" I was like, "That is
Oh
100%
yeah.
accurate."
Well, so for any of the new listeners that we have on here right now, I'm a rideshare driver in Orlando that basically covers the entire state of Florida, and ideally, the typical drive from Disney World property up to Universal Studios property, pre-Epic Universe, anyways,
Hmm.
without traffic is maybe a 15-minute drive on a bad day. Now,
Yeah,
I took a rider between Universal Studios down to Disney World just the other day, and it took us almost an hour and a half to fight through all the traffic, and that was taking back roads. That wasn't even
yeah.
taking I-4 down, which they're they're working on it. I don't think the construction that they're doing is going to help anything personally. They are adding in a few new off ramps and exits and whatnot between Sand Lake Road and 535, which I mean, there's a huge dead space as far as being able to get out anywhere from I-4, with the
Hmm.
exception of the 528. But no, like traffic is wretched. It's just wretched here in Orlando.
I don't miss it. I don't
I
miss
don't
it at
blame
all.
you. Not without, not even a little bit of blame to you whatsoever.
If I drive from here to Houston, it's my nephew lives in Houston. It's about an hour. If I go from here to see my brother, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it because you're constantly moving quick. You take 45 north or south and it's just
Mm-hmm.
tough. But when you start getting close to Houston, the closest traffic I can describe to the Houston is Tampa. And Tampa has some of the worst drivers I've ever been
My
around in my
God,
life. And Houston is probably right above them as far as just, it's crazy. Houston, from I think last year, Houston led the nation in road rage shootings nationwide.
I believe it.
It is
I believe
insane.
it.
And every day I turn the news on, there's 6 or 7 more shootings. It's insane.
Well,
I didn't realize that Houston was that well bad to live in, I guess is a bad way to put it, but it certainly has its element of
a
crime.
kind of a hostile area. So that
Mm,
is as a reported shootings and whatnot. Because
yes,
yeah,
reported.
reported. So one thing that I can say about Orlando, being that we have Disney World here and whatnot, and millions of people from all around the world come here, maybe other planets come here too. Like I can tell you firsthand experience that there's some crazy stuff that happens in Orlando that never makes it past local.
Oh
Promise you.
no, it absolutely doesn't. It's very similar to the
Mm-hmm.
Dominican Republic. You're safe if you're in the resort area, but once you go beyond the imaginary fence and you start hitting places like Pine Hills or anything like that, that's when you need a helmet. Because 100% you're going to start seeing Florida Man, or at least you might see an episode of
Mm-hmm.
Cops.
Hell,
100%.
if you're lucky, you might get put into an episode of Cops as an innocent bystander. But Yeah,
Oh,
all jokes aside, Florida is always going to be my home. Being a multi-generational native here, it's always going to be my home. Both sides of my family live in Florida, between Central Florida and South Florida. But god damn, it would feel very nice to move out of the state of Florida for at least 1 year, if anything, to a place that has 4 actual seasons and not the 4 Florida seasons. For
yeah.
those that aren't familiar with the 4 Florida seasons, that's hurricane season, love bug season, tourist season, and then summer.
Did you ever look up the website that says Florida Man and then you enter your birth date and it will have a Florida Man story that happened on
Oh,
your
that's a
birthday?
Google search. All you have to do is type in
Yeah.
Florida man birth year, tends to have better
You don't have to
results than actual
you don't have to
birthday.
have birth year, but you can if you just do month and day, you'll see a whole list. If you go birth year, you start well, for me at least, you might be starting to get a little bit further back. But if you just do month and year, Florida Man, month and year, or month and day, you should
No,
find some stuff.
there's some wild stuff out there. In fact, for the listeners, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a quick Google search for today. So if I go through and put in Florida Man 1-18, let's see what we got.
How do I know this is going to be good without even knowing?
Off rip. So, headline of the story for January 18th of 2018, man arrested for mistaken bank for Taco Bell. Take a wild guess where this happened.
Oh God, Taco Bell. I'd say it's either Pinellas County or Orange County.
You were correct on that. It was Tampa, which is Pinellas County. All the crazy Florida Man stories come out of Pinellas County.
All of them?
A vast majority of the Florida Man stories.
Lake County gets a lot of the ones they nabbed in sex offenses, and half of them work at Disney.
So that's like scary Florida Man. I'm talking more on the lines of like cheeky Florida Man, like this one.
Oh, like man arrested for sexually assaulting an alligator in his bathroom. Or something like that.
Or Florida Man arrested for robbing a Wendy's drive-thru with an alligator.
The guy that tried robbing the 7-Eleven with a palm prawn.
I got to try to find that one. That one sounds like a good one. Sounds like something I would do personally with enough Jaeger in me.
Yeah, he used it to cover his face at first, and then he tried attacking the clerk with it, and the clerk's like, "Get the hell out of here." What are you doing? There's a shield between us. You can't do anything.
So
I'm not giving you cigarettes.
Florida man. Okay. Spring Hill, Florida. A Florida man was arrested on Wednesday afternoon for DUI after reportedly mistook a Tampa bank drive-thru for a Taco Bell. According to a Hernando County Sheriff's Office, the manager of the Bank of America called to report an impaired driver after he found an unconscious man behind the wheel of a blue sedan in a bank drive-thru lane. Wow.
It had to be the drive-thru. He couldn't have gone in. He had to be sitting there wanting to know where the.
Well, so I'm more interested at what time of day this was, because I mean, if the manager was there at the bank, and the guy was
he probably came in the morning to open up, and the guy was there overnight, thinking it was a 24-hour Taco Bell.
God, I hope that's how it worked out. Well, the manager told deputies that after beating on the car window for some time, he was able to wake the driver. Upon waking up, the driver asked the bank manager for a burrito before driving away after being informed that he was not at a Taco Bell.
You know what? It would be kind of cool to go through a drive-thru at a fast food place, put your order in, put your money in your credit card, and watch you go up the vacuum tube and have your bag and food come back in a vacuum tube.
I agree with that. But there would have to be a certain weight limit. Because you know how they have the commercial lanes at banks, where it's just a trough that comes out of the side of the wall there? Like, that would have to be, sir, your order's too big, you're going to have to make a loop around the building and go through the commercial lane. Because it would be hilarious to order, like, 4 party packs, just a shit ton of tacos, and have them try to cram them all through a vacuum tube. Like, I would go out of my way to do that.
You'd have to put it in what's called the shame lane. It's just a massive tube, and everyone just looks at you. as you drive over to the massive tube to get your giant order while people just shout just mean things at you for all the food you ordered.
While they live stream it on the Taco Bell website for like the Cam of Shame or something like that.
Yeah. You're like, it's for the office. It's all for the office. I'm just an intern.
Oh, that would be
This
amazing.
isn't all for me. Stop judging me. You're fat shaming.
How dare you? I'm hungry.
But God, do that in ABC Liquor, you'd look like a baller. Do it at Taco Bell, everyone thinks you're
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, you go from one whale to another whale. So I'll spare the gentleman's name because in the state of Florida we have the Sunshine Law. So if you're really interested in the story, it happened in Spring Hill, Florida, Hernando County Sheriff's Office on January 18th, 2018. So you go ahead and do the research on that one. But when deputies arrived to find the blue sedan in the parking lot, the driver, explicit, 28, was still in the driver's seat with the car running. The manager of the bank confirmed that friend of gentleman was the same driver who he had called about. According to the arrest report, person made several unusual statements. Deputies also noted that he had delayed reaction to all their questions, as slow movements consisted with someone under the influence of prescribed narcotics. After gentleman failed a series of field sobriety tests, he was placed under arrest, and the arrest report states that he had Oxycontin and Xanax on him, both of which he was prescribed. He was transported.
Well, if he was prescribed them,
Yeah,
he shouldn't be operating a vehicle, but at least it's not something where you just purchase them off the street.
right. Well, that's not to say that Homeboy didn't have a narcotics issue himself.
Well, yeah, obviously, if you're sitting there passed out in a bank drive-through looking for tacos, you've got a problem. But I don't know, like all that stuff. I remember after I had my accident, they prescribed me hydrocodone or oxymorphone, one of those two. I couldn't stand the way it made me feel. I ended up flushing. I think I took two of them, but after that, I just didn't like the way it made me feel. So I just kind of ground through it. I know way more people that have been on that stuff, especially working where I work now. You hear the stories of some of these guys that are locked up for possession and what they would traffic or use, and that's definitely high on that list. You know, once you start getting out of stuff that you cook or you smoke, but once you start getting to prescriptions, those are all high on their
Oh yeah.
stuff. And
Well, especially
they talk about ridiculous things they do.
well, and for them too, because I mean, in the state of Florida, we're referred to as a pill mill state just because of all the doctors that will just willy nilly out all these prescription narcotics and whatnot, and with all the small pharmacies that are here, it's real easy for people to go to 5, 6, 7 different doctors in a day and fill out all the scripts. Like, there's people that come all the way down from like North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, all these places that are known for their narcotic issues. Like, they'll come all the way down here, and for 3 days they'll spend at doctor's offices just filling out script after script after script. And then before you know it, they're able to go back home and resell that and be able to pay for everything for the year.
I remember, I mean, this is a personal view from it, but when my mother just kept having back problems and she'd have her back surgeries, you know, she'd probably have two back surgeries, and in her older years, she had 3 or 4 falls, and she'd break her leg or break her hip. And there's so many things that happen with her. When they started prescribing her those heavy narcotic pain meds, it was kind of became the downfall. Like she stopped being the woman I recognized my mother and just kind of became still my mother, but just a shadow of what she used to be. And she was always looking at the clock for when the next time it came to take those pills. And they were in such a strength that, I mean, if you or I took it, it'd probably kill us. But she had built up such an immunity to it for 20 years of going to these doctors and just prescribing different pain pills just so she didn't have to deal with it. And it took a toll just watching her go through this stuff. And I mean, they finally were able to wean her off of it, but it took a lot to get her to not have to have that need to take that medication. And I say medication in air quotes because it was prescribed, but I think that they just started abusing it, saying, well, just pump up the volume on it and just keep her comatose until she starts hurting again. Then she'll ask for another one. Then he's kind of become those people from Wall-E, just wanting to lay there and not do anything until it comes time to take the pill again, just to go. it was really rough watching
Well,
him.
especially when it comes to narcotics. Because several lifetimes ago, it feels like, back when I was an over the road truck driver, there was a village, of all things, up in upstate New York. Beautiful area up there. Oh my God. I wish I could remember the name of the town so I could find a reason to go back up there. But it was scenic, lots of mountains. It was the beginning of summer. It felt fantastic outside. But up there was a Pfizer facility where they would go through and make painkillers. This was back in 2013,
Mm.
so fucking 12 years ago now. God, time flies. And they allowed us to go in there and tour the facility. The crazy part was that it wasn't like a bunch of scientific machinery going through and synthesizing all these pills and everything, all the main prescription portion of the pills, but it was a bunch of like pallets upon pallets of DEA and FBI seized like heroin, cocaine, and whatnot that was on pallets that would go through a process where they became purified, and then all that got pumped into like the tablet makers and whatnot. It was wild. We couldn't have our phones in there, and I don't remember signing an NDA of any type.
You'll find out here in
Oh
about a
yeah.
month.
So if that be the case, thanks you guys for supporting the channel. God damn it, I'm gonna be a Florida man story.
You got the
Oh
haircut
yeah.
for it.
Well, I mean, I got it back in a ponytail right now, just because it's starting to get a little long in the back, and reason being is my other co-host and I was going to go down to Gasparilla in Tampa this year. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make it just due to financial reasons. But he's going to be going down there and getting a lot of footage of Gasparilla. And for those that don't know what Gasparilla is, it is a pirate festival that involves parades, pirates, and an obscene amount of alcohol. Name the alcohol. Yes, all of that's down there. Yeah, all
All
of
of
it's
it.
down there.
All of that.
And I went down there last year. I really do wish I could make it down there this year. But my God, that was such an experience that if I wasn't intoxicated, I probably would have hated it the entire time. Like, there are so many people walking around. Like, the street.
I've been to, I remember going to Gasper. I've been there once, and it's
Mm-hmm.
insane. It reminds me of Mardi Gras in certain ways, but there's just so much more going on because it's such a
Oh,
larger
yeah.
area.
Well, larger area. They have the boat parade. They have the street parade. They have. I do remember the hot dog vendors that were there, and God bless those sons of bitches, because they were making money hand over fist. It,
Yeah, $5 a hot dog, probably back then, which is probably ten
tried
dollars now.
15 last year.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
and
Dude, I've got to get you to come here during the rodeo or during the Texas Fair.
oh hell yeah, hell yeah.
100%. 100 because the rodeo, I mean, I keep trying to go to it, but it never works out with my schedule before. I mean, last year I probably could have gone, but I was just like, nah, I just kind of want to stay home and do stuff. But now I'm starting to get to the point where I might start going out once these bigger events
Mm-hmm.
start coming. Like I know Metallica is coming to Houston in June, so I'm getting tickets for that, and I know I'm going to go to the rodeo in Houston. I'm going to go to Texas Fair, but these are just these massive things that if you're in town or even if you don't even live here, they're events that people will travel, the country to come and
Mm-hmm.
attend because the rodeo itself is just a huge. I think it's like a week-long event. And of course, the Texas State Fair is just iconic. I mean, it's just, again, massive. When you want to talk about any type of carny game or carny food, it's there, and then they try to outdo it
Mm-hmm.
every year. It's
Well, I
insane.
mean, especially in Texas. I mean, Texas is known for the rodeos, and the Texas State Fair is a big event. I mean, like they say, everything's bigger in Texas, and Texas really does do big things out there.
Mm-hmm. They finally get you your own cowboy hat. Like I said, I think we talked about that a few
Mm-hmm.
episodes ago. When they'll make one for you at the tent.
At the
I finally found one for me. I like it. I mean, I had a couple straw ones, but I ended up finding one that's, I don't remember who makes it. It's not a Stetson. I don't have that kind
Mhm.
of money, but a decent one. Keeps a little head warm. I didn't realize that they kind of shame you on size. Like you're only a size 7. I don't think we have. Maybe in the children's section we have a size 7. I'm like,
What's that your dick?
but that's all right. You guys are dead. Yeah,
Hell,
but no,
I can only imagine if I
it,
went out there to get a hat done. They'll probably be like, "Damn, we ain't got a blank big enough for that."
it probably say, sir, you're gonna have to lose the ponytail for the.
Well, we said that it's a 5 gallon hat. It doesn't mean a 5 gallon jug. Damn, man.
Well, I will say, you look very groomed. You look very proper. You look like you can't really tell it's a ponytail till you turn
Oh
it
yeah.
sideways, and it looks
Hmm.
good on you. As long as you don't start getting a top knot, we're all right. Don't make a man
Oh
out
no.
of it.
Oh no. Not doing that. Not doing that yet. Depends on. So
I,
with Gasparilla being said, another extremely Florida thing's going to be going on in March called the Florida Man Games. Have you heard of said
mhm.
Florida Man Games?
I have, and it's one of those titles that I hear it and I don't want to read further because I'm probably going to start shaking
Oh,
my head because of what type of events will be
oh,
offered.
sir.
So I'm just going to take a few quick shots at it because the first things that come to mind when you say Florida Man games are meth lab construction.
Surprisingly, no, that's not on the list.
What was the other one? Not boa constrictor. Python hunting, because that's a big thing in South Florida.
It's profitable too because they pay out pretty decent money on the bigger ones. Even with the little ones, you get like $10 for anything under 5 foot. Which sign me up. Hell, I'd rather do that. At least I'm.
I think you make more money hunting pythons in South Florida now than you do gator
Yeah.
trapping.
Well, it's because they're an invasive species and they are just wreaking havoc on the local wildlife in the Everglades and whatnot. The key to that is not getting snatched by a murder log. Because it's all fun
Yeah.
and games till you get ate by an alligator. Then it's a party.
Yeah. I don't think it's. Yeah, sure. How now that we're going to have this freeze coming up in here in a couple days? What's the over under and how many iguanas are going to get falling
Oh,
from
all of
trees?
them. All of them. Like, I would have to say easy anywhere from Fort Myers, West Palm portion of Florida down. They're all coming down. They're all coming down.
Now, how many of those iguanas will come down frozen and end up in someone's food?
Hope. I mean, I would say hopefully a few, anyways. Because I mean, that's just easy hunting right there.
I don't know if you really
So
want.
once again, Florida has a lot of invasive species from other places and whatnot.
New York.
Yeah, New
Yeah.
York and other places such as that. And with the iguana situation, it's legal to hunt them throughout the year. So just like with the wild
Yeah.
hog situation in Florida and Texas too, you can hunt them year round. There's a person on Instagram that's made a really good career off of it. His channel name is called Python Cowboy, and dude's really doing the Lord's work down there, hunting iguanas, hunting pythons and boa constrictors, just all these invasive species down there. Like how he's going about doing it is being done in a very ethical way, with nothing left for to be left for nature to take care of. Because I believe it
Hmm.
was Python Cowboy. If you go to his shop, because he has an online store where he has hey dudes that are lined with python and iguana, and yeah,
Okay.
talk about some fancy Florida shit.
What's the price point? Have
Yeah,
you even
I
looked?
look. I really, 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 really want a pair. Yeah, for weddings and such. But the price, but the the price point that he's asking for is not out of the realm of anything that you wouldn't pay for some exotic skin boots, belt. Oh,
200.
like 350, 400.
Come on. You can get boots for that.
Well, so that's a thing. If you're having a pair of boots made out of exotic skins, the entire boot's being made out of that exotic skin. Whereas when you're
Yeah.
trying to do it with a pair of hey dudes or something that's already a pattern, there's a lot more work and a lot more waste that goes into it.
Fair enough.
So,
I was looking at a pair of shark skin boots a couple weeks ago, and I want them. I don't know if I want them for what they ask
mhm.
for them, but man, they look really nice. But then I look in my closet and I got 5 pair of boots. I'm like, I really don't need them. I got when I was in Florida, I had 2 pair of boots and probably 6 pairs of sneakers. Now I've got, I think, 2 pair of sneakers. One that's actual sneakers, like I'm wearing now. Like I've got some Chuck
Hmm.
Taylors and some slide dudes, and then I've got all these boots. It's crazy how fast stuff changes. And 2 pairs of those are work boots, so they're not even like,
Hmm.
traditional ones. But man, I go through boots so fast now that it's an expensive thing. Like you want to go through a pair of work shoes, there might be $80. It's fine. I go through $150 boots every
Oh,
5 months. It sucks.
shit. So, back when we were doing the field engineering work, talk about expensive work shoes, there's a company called Solomon, and they make some of the best hiking boots I've ever worn. And with the amount of walking that we would do on a day by day basis, anywhere between 8 upwards of 12 miles per day, and your boy being not on the petite side of things, I would wear through a pair of those shoes once every 2 months, and they were pushing like 180, 220 per pair. But they were, and still are to this day, the most comfortable pair of shoes I've ever owned in my life. It was one of the few pairs of shoes that I owned that after being on my feet all day, I could sit in the chair with my boots on still and be perfectly fine. Whereas even with the Hey Dudes that I wear driving around, sitting on my ass all day, yes, the moment I get home, I'm kicking those fuckers off.
Yeah.
But it goes to say that you spend money where you need it. And I have heard of the term you spend money on things that touch the ground. So you spend good money on your shoes, you spend good money on your tires, and you spend good money on your mattress. As long as you spend good money on those items, you're going to get a great return out of them throughout the duration of ownership.
I spend so much time on my feet walking the unit that I'm assigned to up and down. I couldn't tell you how many stairs I go up and down every day. Just even going to my building where my office is, that's on the 2nd floor. So I'm up and down all these different tiers all day long. In and out of cases. And I started developing some nerve problem with my
Mm-hmm.
left foot. So when I get home, like you don't feel it until like you start relaxing, and then my foot just it hurts. It doesn't make any sense why, but it hurts. And it did that for a couple months. And then 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I ordered on Amazon something. It's like an electronic foot thing. You plug it in, you stick your feet in it, you hit power, and it's like a shiatsu thing for
Mm-hmm.
your feet. It was $80, and I will spend that 100 times over. That thing is amazing. That has done more for me to make me relax than 5 bottles of whiskey will do in a week,
So,
and it is amazing.
have you ever done an Epsom salt foot soak?
Yes. And I'm going to go a step further with you, Ray. I'm going to admit something that I don't feel particularly proud of, but I did it because my stepdaughter at the time and my wife at the time wanted to do something, and they said, "Hey, this is better than having your feet rubbed. It's a place where you go to and you put your feet in with a bunch of little tiny fish, and they nibble at all your dead skin." That was weird and it felt strange. And they're like, "Oh, doesn't your foot feel amazing?" No, it feels like little tiny fish were gnawing on my foot for the last 30 minutes, and I spent $65 on it for 3 people. Thank you very much. And that was in Old Town.
Sir, God bless you on supporting a local business, but I could have told you right then and there, hey, instead of paying $65, go to a place where they have a tub of like foot fetish fish going through and nibbling at your
Oh,
toes and
God.
whatnot. Let's go to the springs. Let's go to Wakayama Springs. Let's go to Rock Springs. Let's go to Alexander Springs. And just chill in the water and have the minnows nibble at you.
Look, I'll tell you right now, it was her birthday. It wasn't for me, but it was a thing that my wife at the time and her, I'd already had a few drinks at that time. I'll say a few with an air quote behind it because my few drinks were 4 or 5 very nice old fashions. They had bacon in them, and it was
Ooh,
delicious. It was a maple bacon old
okay.
fashioned, right? Maple. It had a stick of bacon in it. There's maple or I love old fashions. I love whiskey in general. Old fashions, my
Mm-hmm.
favorite drink. And they got me. I think they did it on purpose, just to see if I would do it. How many is it going to take to get this guy to agree to go with us and get this done? And that answer is 4 or 5. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I think we ended up spending more on that than we did the actual
Mm-hmm.
foot thing. I didn't really think about it till the next day. because someone, I won't say who, shot a video of us doing that. And I was like, I don't really remember doing that. And they showed me the video. I said, well, that's retarded. I would never have spent money on that. And I think that's why we went to the bar first.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, thank you for supporting a local business on that one. As I have zero issues whatsoever doing a pedicure, but not all the time. Is
I've never had one
you
done.
never had a pedicure done?
No, I think it's because the name. If it was called something different than a pedicure or a manicure, I think I'd probably have it done. But the name makes me think, no, I'm not going to do it.
Don't knock until you try it.
I'm going to live vicariously through you on this one.
So the last pedicure I had was right after a project that we did up in Maine. Now, that was 3 years ago. And 3 years ago up in Maine, it was anywhere between negative 26 degrees to negative 50 degrees on some of the days with the wind chill and whatnot. And holy shit, that's a different kind of cold. And, well, your boy being from Florida and whatnot wasn't really accustomed to it. Plus being on my feet all the time up there against ice, frozen pavement, frozen concrete, made out of, like, slipped and busted my ass a lot when I was up there, even with snow chains on my feet. It was a very abusive environment. And, well, whenever I drove back from Maine down to Atlanta, where the office was at the time, I had a couple of days between projects and whatnot. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get me a good barber haircut. And I'm going to get a pedicure done because I deserve it. I'm pretty sure I had frostbite. And, yeah, like I said, don't knock until you try it. It's a really pleasant time. It's very relaxing. Your feet feel amazing afterwards. Having all the Vietnamese women giggle.
They're always Vietnamese.
They're always Vietnamese. Always. Having them all giggle at this big dude going in there and asking for a pedicure, I had that place cracking the fuck up the entire time I was there. And I knew exactly what was going on.
Oh. Did you get any numbers? You should have been able to pull a number.
No, I would have, but I was too relaxed to care about anything else other than the actual, like, pedicure that was going on.
Is that the strangest thing you've ever done to pamper yourself?
That didn't include alcohol?
I'm not saying, like, go out and drinking to pamper, but, like, something you've done, you're like, I just want to take care of me today and go out and have something done. Like, you really have a shave and a pedicure. Like, is that the weirdest, or not weirdest, but, like, the thing you're like, I don't know if I want to tell anyone about it.
No, I wouldn't say that it was weird, because whenever I got back from Maine, I looked like the bastard child of the Abominable Snowman and Bigfoot. Like, I was gnarly looking whenever I got back. Like, my beard was going right below my eyebrows. I'm pretty sure I had, like 2 detailed brushes of just hair coming out of my nose. Like, it was rough. I was rough whenever I got back, because I was trying to protect as much of this and any bare skin as possible from all the snow, the wind, the ice, fucking sleet. The first time I ever got pelted with sleet was on a job that we did over in Minnesota, probably 6 years ago now. And I legit thought someone had pretzel salt up in a tree and they were just throwing it at me, just like fucking with me and whatnot. Because it looks like pretzel salt. Yeah, salt that you would see on a pretzel. And
I'm familiar.
I called up our ex-boss. I was like, hey man, I think someone's throwing salt at me. And he's like, throwing salt at you? Why would you say that? And I sent him a picture of it. He was like, buddy, you're from Florida. I was like, yeah, from Orlando. And he's like, dude, that's sleet. What the hell is sleet? It's chunky snow.
You called him?
I was concerned with my safety, all right.
I feel better about my fish foot story now. I called my boss to complain about someone's throwing salt at me from a tree.
Legit, it felt like I was being pelted by salt.
Oh my god. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I sit here and I see all these shorts that come out from all the interviews and whatnot, and I'm praying that the fish thing doesn't make one. But if that does, the sleet story better make
absolutely.
it too. Because it's got to go both ways. Has to go
And
both ways.
without a doubt.
Oh God, that made me laugh. Oh, I've got a headache now because that for some reason that just hit
And,
me funny.
well, it probably hit you right in the chest on that one because once again I'm from Florida. I don't know what snow is. The only the only time they
Dude,
see ice on the
we've
sidewalks
seen.
down here is if someone spills their drink.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess I've seen a lot more winter-ish weather since moving here, even though it's Texas, but I'm still probably a few hundred miles north from where you are. And I mean, I saw sleet last year. I mean, my stairs to my apartment were frozen over, which my dog dragged me down. He pulled me over in the ice a couple times, but I'm more concerned about the next few days here because even though I'm off this weekend and theoretically I'm off on Monday, day, there's a very good chance that I'll get called in to pull my crew out from their houses and go back and make sure all the insulation we're putting on these pipes work because last year it did a good job. There's still that fear that we're going to have some sewer pipe bust and I'm going to get called in an emergency capacity to go out there and pick up frozen waste. Well, not me. I'm going to watch
Oh
inmates
yeah.
do it, but still, I don't want to have to go
Still,
deal
you
with
got to
that
be within
shit.
smell radius of that.
Sometimes you're in the splash zone too, because we do a little bit of everything, Boa. And to their credit, they bust their ass. I will say that those guys bust their ass, and they get no recompense for it. There's no good time paid because a lot of these guys have ag charges. They don't get anything
Hmm.
like that. They're not getting money on the books for it. They're just serving time. So the fact that they're out there doing it all says a
Yeah.
lot for me because they're doing my job for me because I'm not doing that stuff without them. So I mean, I give them all the credit for keeping that place running as well as it
Hmm.
does. Granted, we're not craftsmen. We've got craftsmen, carpenters, electricians, and all that stuff there. We do everything in between. But I'm really not looking forward to getting pulled out when I think it's supposed to get down to 18 or 20 degrees, and it's supposed to be 60% chance of rain throughout that
Oh,
entire
so
time. So we'll definitely
yeah,
have
there's a
sleet.
lot of ice.
Yeah. So I'm just crossing my fingers that, I'm not going to get that call on Monday to come get everything prepped because I know Tuesday and Wednesday, at least here, is going to be the worst of it. And I really don't think my two-wheel drive car is going to want to perform as well as I'm going to want
Well,
it
I
to.
mean, also you got to keep in mind once it gets below a certain temperature, the battery doesn't quite work all that great either. Just saying.
Yeah, but I'm still close enough. They'll probably tell me to either Uber or start jogging because I'm not that far away.
The negatives of being close to work.
It doesn't hit me very often, but it does occasionally. But the maintenance supervisor I directly report to, he does a really good job of kind of keeping me out of a lot of stuff I don't need to be involved with because he's got craftsmen for it. When he needs me, he knows I'm there. And like I said, I don't have a hard job. I just have to make sure it gets
Hmm.
done. So I don't mind going in and watching stuff get done. I just got to supervise and make sure it gets done. It's not like I got to go in there and do it specifically, although I do my part when I need to. But man, there's some stuff that you see there that you don't want to see, particularly when it's super hot or super cold. But when it's super cold, everyone's kind of huddled in their cells or their huts or their dorms or what. When it's hot, everyone's out and just hanging.
Hmm.
But when they're cold and they're irritated. So I just try to get my job done and go home.
Which the your place of employment, do they have air conditioning there? Like, is it all air conditioned facility,
So
or is it like certain parts are air conditioned and some parts aren't?
so the one of the thing about the unit that I'm particularly assigned to is that the construction began on it in
Mm.
1907 and was completed in like 1911 or something like that. Or opened in 1907. They started. The main building is a very small building, very, very small. It's actually the center of our unit and still has the original name on it. And then they built several buildings around it as the years went on in the 50s. And I think the last building is an administrative building, which was built in the 70s. That has AC because that's where all the
Mm.
administration is. And the buildings off of that were like the mailroom and everything else. That's all air conditioned. The education building is air conditioned. The cell blocks and the rest of them have air handlers, but not air conditioning. And these are all giant red brick buildings. So we will be getting air conditioning units to mount on some of the buildings here in the next year or year after. But if you're asking me if I can turn it down to 70. No. I can turn fans on and bring more fans in, and it circulates the air well
Mhm.
enough. But it's still, when we go to work in these pipe chases that has all the plumbing and everything in them, there's no air movement in there.
It's all
It's just
stagnant.
stagnant heat, yeah, or cold or whatever. And, stuff bursts and breaks, and the smells I could tell with you. It's interesting. You definitely are experiencing, the finer points of
Mhm.
incarceration when you go in these places. And you get it done, and you fix stuff, and it makes things run better. But, as soon as you turn around, you're going to be doing it because some parts of the building are 100 years plus old. In fact, we worked on a lock on a door that when you remove the core, it was stamped
Damn.
1873. So the core of this big lock that we were working on, the core itself was from 1873, which means 1873 to 1907, it was already that old when it was installed in that
Mhm.
door. And we're still working on that same mechanical system to this day. So
They don't build.
they were recycling back then.
They don't build them like they used to. That's for damn sure.
No, there are definitely more technologically advanced units in the state.
Mhm.
Not that ours is bad by any stretch, it really isn't, but we still have keys for just about everything. I don't have buttons to hit certain doors to pop open. There's no audible and opens up. Not like you see on TV, I can tell you that.
Mhm.
There are units like that are much more modern, but I mean, hell, the oldest running facility in the state is the Huntsville unit, which is called the Walls unit, and that was built in like 18, and it's still used to this day. That's where they do the executions for the state of Florida. It's probably 5 minutes around the
Nice.
corner. Yeah,
But
it's it's definitely something to drive past and just go, wow, that looks like something definitely not from this era.
that is definitely a thing I don't want to be in.
What, that
Well, I
prison?
mean, prison in general. Like, I don't care if it's a fucking Marriott version of a prison. It's still prison at the end of the day. But I mean, that's
You know, I it used to be one of my biggest fears is having to do time. And I still don't want to by any stretch, and I certainly don't ever want to do something that puts me in a position where I
mhm.
have to. But working in one for over 2 years, it's bad because it's
Mhm.
prison. But there's degrees of bad. It's your time is what you make of it. There's guys there that sleep a lot. There's guys that work out. There's guys that take programs. There's guys that educate themselves, and there's guys that just want to act like knuckleheads. It's like being back in middle
Mhm.
school. 100% of the time, it's like you're in middle school, and the way they talk to each other is very middle schoolish. The things they get upset about are very middle schoolish. Like, someone changed the channel. I was watching that. Now we're gonna have a fist
Mhm.
fight. Who took my suits? Stuff like that. It's because all you have is your possessions there. All you have is your reputation. So the guys are willing to fight over some of the
Oh
dumbest
yeah.
shit. And others are just willing to sit there and be quiet and do their time. And we don't particularly violent unit, but this stuff still, still happens. And you always have to have eyes in the back of your head. But for the most part, ours is fairly calm. For the most part. So there's really, it's not as bad as you would think, but there are some gladiator arenas, as there are in every
Mhm.
state, where it can get bad real quick, and everyone's got their shoes laced up, and everyone's looking to fight everyone every day. And I'm just fortunate in one of those particular
Well, you're
ones.
also on the other side of the jail cell too.
Not really. I mean, they're out and about all the time. The ones that always start problems that are locked down a
Mhm.
lot. But we don't really house the ones that do that. I mean, we've got our own administrative segregated area. If you get thrown in jail and prison because you did something stupid, you get put in a headset and you're waiting in court and maybe get shipped off the unit. And those places kind of get fun, lighting fires or flooding from time to time, but it's all the same
Mhm.
stuff. They're just kids acting out. The amount of arrested development you see in prison is kind of astounding. Some kid gets locked up at 16 and he's 35 now. In his head, he's still a teenager. He hasn't really developed much beyond that. And that's a sad
Mhm.
thing because there's not been a lot of progress made on his development. But it's also behavioral based. If you're always acting out, always being a knucklehead, it's kind of hard to put you in a classroom setting.
Oh yeah. Well,
So there's a lot
well
of it
that
too.
and I guess the best phrase would be only the willing ask for help. I mean, you can help a person all day till you're blue in the face, but if they don't want the help, they're not going to take the help.
And that's the biggest thing. And you usually see the inmates that are in their 30s or 40s, they've kind of calmed down a lot because they've done
Mm-hmm.
time, or they've been out and about in the real world until then, so they kind of on things. But the ones that get locked up young, those are definitely the ones. The ones new to the system and young are always the ones that want
Mm-hmm.
typically. Now you also get guys that are never going to see the light of day for the as long as they live, and they just don't care because what are you going to do? Are you going to give me more
Mm-hmm.
time? Or that doesn't, So there's a few elements of that too, but for the most part, a lot of our people in our facility, they're going to classes because they're going to get out in a few months and they need this course to leave. And they're a lot of them are on their better behavior than they have been in the past. And so the like a lot of the inmates that work for me directly, a lot of them have aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping. One point he had murder. So there's all sorts of stuff that you deal with, but they're all there to
Mm-hmm.
work, and they're not necessarily the same people they were 20 years ago when they got locked up. But you always have to keep that in the back of your head whenever you're working with them, and they're have wrenches and hammers and deadly weapons everywhere. So you always have to keep
Mm-hmm.
track of it, but you don't turn your back on them, and you don't want to get too close when they're swinging stuff. But for the most part, they're there to do a job because they want to get out and use that skill later. And a lot of them, like I said, are close to getting out, so they're just trying to
Well,
focus on
and
that.
then that's probably one of the bigger things that I could not necessarily preach, but emphasize on people in general. Like, not everyone's built to go to college. No.
No.
But it is possible for you to learn a trade that you could go into and be just as successful, if not more successful, in that trade than you would be at college. With the amount, with society in general going more tech based when it comes to like income, career based, and whatnot. Like one of the bigger things I've seen in recent years is billing and coding in the medical field because it's an easy job. It doesn't take a lot to. Well, I say it doesn't take a lot. It's all numbers, which numbers terrify the hell out of me. But
Hmm.
but these are all things that could be done on a keyboard at home. Yeah, being able to work from home and whatnot. Not everybody's built for that.
And a lot of guys just like learning a trade. It's easier. They feel better, putting their hands on something and working on it than sitting there typing numbers into a
Oh yeah,
computer. And I understand that. I
oh yeah.
respect that.
But it's I would say within the next 8 years, 8, 10 years, the blue collar job force is going to be the next multi-million-dollar industry because you have so many people that are willing to do the whole. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, hell, I got a podcast. Yeah, but you have a lot more people that are willing to do more tech-based stuff when you need people out there that need to lay down the fiber lines for the internet. You need people to lay down the power lines and build the power grid that goes along with it. Because it's one thing to design it, but you need people out there physically doing the stuff. Kind of like what we did. Yeah, we did the
And well, and
survey.
not only that, but I remember when I was younger, people would give other people shit because they're like, "Oh, you're just gonna be a bricklayer like your dad. Oh, you're not gonna do anything." Well, a lot of people need
Mm-hmm.
bricks laid, and it's an art to doing
Oh
all of
hell
this
yeah!
stuff. Construction, yeah. You may sit there and look down on all these people that are out there working on roofs and whatnot and think they're pieces of shit or they're uneducated, but they can build a hell of a lot more stuff than you could
Oh
ever
yeah!
think of. And that's a skill they can take around with them forever. That's always going to be needed. Once your little internet project or whatever, thing you're working on for graphics design is over, what are you going to do when that
Mm-hmm.
contract's up? You're going to hope someone else wants another graphic design. There's always another building that has to be built or be fixed or
Repairs.
somebody's in it. They're always going to
Mm-hmm.
have work, just like a mechanic. They're always going to be able to work. So it never even occurred to me to look down on them because these guys are always working. If nothing else, I respect them because they're out there in the heat and the cold, always getting stuff done. And they do stuff that I probably might be able to do somewhat close to as good as they can if I had the right training. But I'd rather have them do it because they know what they're doing. You definitely don't want me putting a roof on your house, I can tell you
Oh, I
that.
could put a roof on a house. Is it going to keep water out? Probably not, but I could definitely put a roof on
No.
a house.
Yeah. I mean, I can change out an electrical outlet or install a ceiling fan or do basic stuff now and stuff like that. I couldn't have done probably 3 or 4 years ago. I've learned a lot of that stuff now. I know way more about plumbing and electricity now than I did 2 years ago. I can tell you that much.
So if it's one thing that not even every guy, everybody needs to learn how to do, just basic life lessons: how to change a tire, how to check your
Hmm.
oil in your car, how to do
Hmm.
minor repairs in your house, apartment, whatever the case may be, and how to balance a checkbook, how to apply for a home loan. Like, these are basic things that, caveat, that I didn't learn while going to high school and whatnot, but I did have a kid in my vehicle a couple years ago at this point. Whenever I was, because as a rideshare driver, I do enjoy talking to my riders because everybody's from everywhere. Everyone has their own story, and everybody's here for a reason. And it just so happened to come up that the subject of education came up, and I voiced my opinion on where the current education system is versus where it was when I was a kid. Excuse me. And I made the whole assessment of there's no sense in learning algebra because what I really need to learn how to do was how to balance a checkbook, apply for a credit card, how to manage a credit card, what annual APR is. And the little bastard said, "Well, what if they taught you that, but you weren't paying attention?" Now, listen here, you little fucker. If you're listening to this day, I didn't need that kind of truth thrown on me in the middle of driving. I mean, hell, frankly, probably would have went into the telephone pole because, I mean, when you're right, you're right. But
I distinctly remember being taught, how to write a check in high school, but they never taught you how to balance the
mm-hmm.
checkbook. But they told you how to fill out
Oh
one.
yeah,
A lot of good it did 10 years later when I don't think I've used a paper check in 25 years.
hell, they taught
But
me how to write paper checks in like 2002, 2003, like fairly recent.
I don't think I've owned a checkbook in
So
decades.
the only time I need a check is if I hire on with a company and they ask for a direct deposit. That's the only time that you need a check, and it's not even a blank check. It's usually a null and voided check.
Well, now they don't even ask that. They just ask for your account and
Mm-hmm.
routing number, and it's
Yeah,
good to go.
like it's checks are one of those things that are they're more useful in a commercial application. Like for companies that work off a net 30 or net 60 or hell even net 90 contracts, and they get that large lump sum after all the work that they've done over the course of 90 days, 60 days, or 30 days. But yeah, aside from that, it's kind of a moot point anymore. Because when was the last time that you went to a grocery store? All right, prime example. When was the last time that you went to a grocery store and there was this little old lady writing out a check for her groceries for the week because that's what she's been doing since the 1960s? The process to verify that check is ridiculous. Like, of all the years that I've done retail, I've had two people write out paper checks. One was for a commercial account back when I was doing car audio. It was a DJ or something like that that had a substantial amount, and he didn't have enough time to get a cashier's check for the bill. The other time was for a little old lady that was getting a $50 gift card for her grandson or something like that. And it took me probably a better part of 2 hours to verify that check was good. Because policy at the company that I worked for at the time was if you do get a check, you have to make sure that it's verified before completing the sale. And that made me never want to accept anyone's check ever again. Like, that was such a
I think the
nightmare.
only checks I remember accepting for probably the last 20 years were corporate checks. We didn't accept personal
Mm-hmm.
checks. But I mean corporate checks because it's a corporate account or they're buying something for a
Mm-hmm.
store. But I couldn't tell you the last time I even saw someone hand me a personal check for anything. In fact, most places you go to say, no checks, allowed. That's
Oh
cash or
yeah,
card. They don't accept checks. I don't think I've seen a place that takes a paper check
yeah. Because
anymore.
I can tell you right now, I can write you a check with $100 million written on it. It's gonna bounce like fucking rubber. But anyone can write that number down.
You can put any number you want on this paper. Doesn't
Yeah.
even have it. You know.
Expect
But there also used to be a time where you'd be locked up for it, and I don't think they pursue that as much anymore because of all the digital accounts and stuff. Oh, I switched my account, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
it anymore, or whatever the case is. My debit card is now a different number, or whatever the case is. I don't think they even pursue that unless it's a significant
So
amount.
do you remember the movie Catch Me If You Can? Yeah.
I do.
So that was based off of a true story on check fraud. Yeah, back in the 1980s or 1970s, I believe. But yeah, that was Leonardo DiCaprio doing check fraud. And it was a good movie. It was a good movie from what I remember of it.
I think I've seen most of it. I don't think I've sat through all of it. It's one of those things that if it's on when I was flipping channels, I stopped and started watching it halfway through. It was good from what I saw.
It's a good movie. It's a good watch. It's a good watch of anything. But yeah. I still can't get over how wild this year's going to be.
I mean, every year we say the same thing, and every year something starts getting crazy again.
2020 was like pinnacle, like the apex of crazy. Like legit crazy shit going on. Everything else after that has been like mediocre crazy.
Well, it's hard to top a good movie. The sequels are never going to live up to the original.
Well, which is part of the reason why Steven Spielberg doesn't do sequels or refuses to do sequels anyways.
He did Jurassic Park 2.
And it did well. It did well, but not as good as Jurassic Park.
No, it didn't. Jaws 2. I think it was a sequel. I don't know. I'm just. Why can't we just have just one year where nothing happens?
Just a quiet year.
I mean, it's never going to happen.
No, but I mean, we're also
we wouldn't know what to do as a society. Well, it's like that whole thing where I think they had a show once where no one died. Like there was a day or something like that where absolutely no one passed away on that day, and everyone's like, "Holy shit!" Or if people just stopped dying for a week. People were losing like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" Like all these people are surviving these horrific car accidents and gunshot wounds. No one's on cardiac arrest. I don't think the world would know what to do if it just had peace and quiet.
Well, so and that's the thing. We're at a point, at least in the United States, we're at a point to where we will bitch, whine, moan, and complain over the most minute thing, just to bitch, whine, moan, and complain. Because I mean, you go to places like like some parts of sub-Saharan Africa and whatnot, where you have people that are legit going through famine, that have been starving for the better part of 30 years now. Like, how these people are surviving is a miracle beyond belief. Those are people that need to be bitching about stuff. Like, where's the aid? Where's the help? And then here we are over here trying to decide on what a woman is.
Look, I'll tell you this much. I've never seen an archaeologist dig up a human remain that didn't have either male or female. I'm pretty sure we can figure it out. Everything else is a mental disorder.
Yeah. Well, it almost seems like it's a fairly recent thing, as far as like recorded and whatnot.
I remember in the 80s, people used to call them trannies, and they, or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, look, those guys are crazy." And then it went from that to, "Well, no, you have to recognize me as a woman." No, I don't, Steve. Just because now you're Stephanie now, you're still Steve. And they start passing stuff in Congress now, biological men and women's rights. Just because you change what your appearance is, you identify as something else. I'm sorry, if you're dunking on all these girls in women's basketball because you were not going to make the team on the men's team, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Just practice harder. Just realize that basketball ain't for you. That's something else. Backgammon, maybe. I don't know what to tell you.
What?
But don't take away. Don't blemish women's sports by competing against them. It's not right. And don't tell me science is wrong on that, because you can't change the X and Y chromosomes in your body no matter what you do.
I mean, before I go down that rabbit hole, like, I understand people may not be comfortable in their skin. I understand that. But it's more of a self-help thing. Like, that's something that you have to deal with. And for forcing other people to play make-believe with you, it's not necessarily a prejudice against you as much as, I mean, we all read the book by the cover. And if you're coming at me with a bigger beard than I do, with a deeper voice than I have, and you're trying to tell me that your name is like Kimberly or something like that, Which, that being said, I have came across a guy named Kimberly before. Huge son of a bitch. Huge son of a bitch. Probably pushing at least 7'3", 7'2", something like that. Pushing an easy 450, all muscle. That's an exception. But if you're trying to having me play make-believe with you, it's a different kind of mental state, more so than anything. Like, if you want to be gay, be gay. No need to have extra steps behind it.
Yeah, I don't care what people do. Just don't expect me to pretend and go
Well,
along with you. Like, if you want to identify something and make it true and make it a charge against me like a hate crime, because I'm like, no, I'm not going along with you on this. I'm not playing your game. If you want to identify something, fine. But let's be fair then. If I want to identify as Scarlett Johansson's husband, you have to support me and celebrate me as
yeah.
being brave. And you can't stop me from identifying as that, because that's how I feel as a person on the inside. It's just as ridiculous, but if we're going to play the same game, hey, I can play that too.
Well, I mean, if you want to play a game, rules are rules. Either way that you look at it. Just because it works well for you and it doesn't work well for me, that's not good sportsmanship.
That's right. There's going to be another Saw movie coming out. I want to play a game. There's one bathroom that says male and female. There is not a third option. Which one do you choose?
Easy, I'm shitting on the floor. Dropping
Yeah.
a trouser right there.
Look, I support people being happy, but at a certain point, we have to stop as a society and say, this is getting too far. There's obviously a mental illness going on and people need therapy versus making everyone else go along with you. If I want to pretend I'm a Tyrannosaurus Rex and stomp around, people are going to lock me up. That's just crazy. And it's no different. It's no
So,
different.
with that being said, have you seen the, what was it? The Velociraptor outfit? Yeah,
I have.
that, okay, so 100%, not gonna lie, if I had a chance to have access to one of those and go to a big event without announcing it beforehand, you bet I'm going in there acting all kinds of an ass.
That's fine. It's an event. It's a scheduled thing. It's for
Oh no,
fun
I'm
and
talking.
games.
I'm talking
But
like.
if you were,
I'm talking like baby shower, first
I
birthday.
understand.
Like I'm gonna be a fucking menace with it.
I understand that. But you're not going to go home and eat and sleep and walk the dog and go to the movies with your wife and then go to work the next day and demand people recognize you as a
No.
velociraptor, because that would be crazy. So I'm saying that you can do certain things and everyone's going to be like, okay, that's just, haha, I understand. But the moment you want me to take you seriously as a velociraptor, as for the rest of your life, and never leave that suit and just try to eviscerate people because that's you hunting, we're all going to have a problem.
A very significant problem at that.
I'm just saying.
Well, like you said, I'm all for people being happy. Whichever way they choose to go, that's up to you. Whether it be with the same sex, opposite sex, whatever the case may be. The problem that we're running into is more on the lines of people having a hard time identifying what a gender is versus a sexual preference.
Oh, and watching people sit there when they're on camera, trying to sit there and be, can you identify a woman? And they can't do it. And they don't know how to answer. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's more the ego perspective of it. Like, yeah, I don't want to be too preachy about it, but there becomes a point where you want to believe something so bad that you're willing to neglect any source of reason just to prove that you want to believe something.
They're just afraid of the backlash they're going to get from being honest. And if the moment you start crossing that threshold where you're afraid to say, no, I remember growing up and I know what a boy and a girl is, and I know, what a woman is and a man is. And the moment you're asked to define it, which has been something defined since history began, and suddenly over the last 20 years we can't do that, that's ridiculous.
No, well, that's the thing. It's a recent thing. I would say within the past easily 10 years, that's been a really big issue overall.
Going back further than that, I mean, hell, 10 years ago was 2015. That's crazy. But this has been going on at least since the 2000s.
Oh, easy.
And the debate it ostracizes people. I mean, you can cause rifts in families over this.
Oh, rifts in families get fired from employment for having an opinion that doesn't agree with someone else. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say the censorship that's out there, but drinking the Kool-Aid. drinking the Kool-Aid would be the best way to explain it. To have that many people be on the same page and legitimately agree to it, that's concerning. That's concerning.
I don't know if they legitimately agree to it as much as corporates making them agree to it to keep their job. But the pendulum's swinging back in the other direction. A lot of these woke cultures in a lot of corporations, even the FBI closed one of their offices about inclusiveness or whatever because they realized, okay, it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
work anymore. And we're getting a president that's not going to play ball with us anymore. It doesn't work. It forces people into believing stuff or saying they believe stuff that doesn't exist. And it's created more problems than it's attempting to solve because no one wants to sit there and tell people you might want to go
Oh
talk to
yeah,
someone.
so DEI, diversity, employment, inclusion. The fact that it's fairly mandated to hire some people just because that they're a different ethnicity, different sexuality in their eyes, or whatever the case may be, the fact that they get hired off of that, that's doing a really, really big disjustice to people that are qualified for that. Now, that's not to say that people that choose to think that way or to act that way or believe that they're that way is saying that they're not qualified for it. But in the same token, if there's I don't know, a big fire going on throughout a city in the United States currently, and you're head of the department to be able to keep that under control, and you're not doing quite a good job, but you're boasting that you're gay and whatnot, and that's like your biggest platform that you're going off of is being that you're a gay trans woman, and that's the whole reason why they got hired and whatnot. That's kind of bullshit, and you're not doing the people any good in that position. All that's doing is just creating an ego and narcissism that is just wild, just absolutely wild.
Look, I'm not going to argue that Gavin Newsom hasn't handled this thing and with the wildfires in California with the same grace and dignity of a Tijuana donkey show. I'm not going to argue that. What I am going to say is a lot of those policies are just based on trying to get votes and have no basis in
Mm-hmm.
reality. It's just trying to make people say, oh, look how progressive he is. Oh, he's so woke. Oh, we're going to vote. But meanwhile, everything he does is bankrupting the entire city. The entire state's been in the red for God
Oh
knows
yeah.
how long. And it's just poor management. All because you want to placate all these fringe things that ultimately it's not saying it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of other underlying problems with mental health that should have been addressed long ago instead of placating it and giving them more platforms to speak on a lot of the insanity that's enveloped not just that state but a lot of parts of the
Well,
country.
so the biggest thing would be you hire people that are qualified for the position that they're applying for. The fact that whatever they identify with between their legs is considered the qualification standard is nuts. It's absolutely insane. Because, I mean, same thing can be said about the governor of North Carolina over in Asheville, handling that situation as poorly as he's handled it. I don't even know who the governor is over there, but with a quick Google search.
It won't matter after the next election, I'm sure.
Oh, no. Like that. Like, the person's going to be voted out with a quickness.
The Superman theme, huh? Oh no, that
I
was
was
Star
going for
Wars.
Star Wars.
I'm sorry. For some reason, I was watching this.
How dare you?
Yeah, of all the things I should pick up on instantly.
Pitch. Why didn't you notice that?
My head is in three different places
Oh,
right now.
yeah. So, Josh Stein, Stein. He's a governor of North Carolina. Yeah, I mean, I can say that he has not handled that situation very well with, with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, and we're talking October, November, December, January. Yeah,
October.
like 4 months, going on 5 months later. I mean, come on, dude. It almost seems like if you let the people go through and handle it themselves, they'll do a better job than letting FEMA go through and interfere with everything.
Or just understanding crisis management and being able to prioritize things in a timely manner and seeing something coming with enough time to make preparations that should already have been in place.
So in all fairness, with North Carolina, yeah, they're 3,000 feet above sea level in an area that normally doesn't get affected by hurricanes. Who would have known that they were going to get hit with torrential flooding on a biblical level through there. Like, that's just something that you don't typically see.
Well, the name of their hockey team is the Hurricanes.
Is ironic as shit. Yeah,
I'm just
so
pointing
it
it
still
out.
surprises me that Florida has a couple of hockey teams. Apparently, they went to the Stanley Cup and whatnot. That's wild.
You get enough Canadians come down here, it works.
They do be coming down here. They come down here a lot.
They're all about it.
They're about it. Shit. So what's happening on your side? Like, how's everything been going with you?
I mean, it's fine here. Everything, like I said, I keep it peaceful. I keep it quiet. It's go to work, come home. The only weird stuff that happens is always at work, and it's not always stuff that I'm open and able to talk about because of what we do. But there's always crazy things that happen. There's always something interesting that happens every day, but you can't always speak on it because of what we do or where we're at. And it's there's so many things I'd like to say, like some just crazy ass shit. Like, okay, for example, I can probably say this one because it's not anything overly specific, but the first day I was on my unit, I mean, day one, hour three, touring the unit, the new guys and myself, and we're just kind of learning where everything's at. And we went down into the administrative segregation building, and our unit's not set up for certain types of inmates. In particular, we're not set up for transgender. Like, we're a male-only facility. There's some women-only facilities. There's some that house a little bit of everything. They have transgender wings and everything. But our unit is not set up for that. So if we ever get one in that's transferring and they'll be with us for a day or a week or a month or whatever, they're held down away from everyone else for their own protection. I was not aware of this, and we're touring it, and I'm walking up the cell block, and I hear, "Boss man," and I turn and look into a cell, and there's an irate inmate sitting on the floor yelling at me that he does not have clean panties. Now, I'm not prepared for that, was not expecting it. I'm hour three in my first day on this unit, and he's telling me that he's supposed to have been issued a panty pass, but it was lost with his possessions when he got sent to this unit, and he hasn't gotten his possessions yet, but he's been wearing the same, whatever, for however long. And I'm just, okay. And he proceeds to lift his shirt and pull his pants down to show me his soiled undergarments and bra. And I'm not prepared to deal with this. I didn't know that was a thing 3 hours into my first day. And so, we get a sergeant and they come over and address it. And it was handled, but yeah, that part was crazy. But yeah, that was little things like that make the day go by.
Yeah. On that note, let's take a quick break. I need to restock on my cooler situation because I'm working on beer number 7 now. Oh yeah,
oh my God.
It's been a good recording so far. So we'll be right back in just a moment, and we're back. Ryan,
sir,
pretty decent recording. Not gonna lie. I mean, I like to think that we covered a lot of bases. Some of it may be a little controversial, depending on your output on life and whatnot, or outlook on life, I should say. But I mean, all in all, it's not that the people want to hear it as much as the people need to hear it.
I don't think we're saying anything out of school. I mean, it's not like we're being disrespectful about anything. To be honest, we've both overly stated that, people should be able to do what they want and be able to be happy. Just at a certain point, you do have to call a little bit of bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with your upbringing, too. Hell, I was brought up by an Army colonel, so that's how I was raised. Not everyone raised it. That's just me.
Well, I mean, not everyone has the pleasure of being able to have an upbringing like that, too. Because, I mean,
it was a lot of struggle.
It was a lot of struggle, but it was a lot of character building, too. And, personally, I think it does boil down to character building more so than anything.
Or positive reinforcement to a lot of degrees, to be able to believe in you.
Yeah. Well, maybe a little too much positive reinforcement. Yeah. Because, I mean, with upbringing, with rearing a child, you can't always be the friend. You do have to be the parent. Because, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, the parent is a parent.
When you're bringing up a child, you need to be a parent. There will be a time later in life where you could become their friend and their parent. But the formative years, you need to teach right from wrong. And you definitely need to be the not the administrator, but you have to be the one that the authority figure that's able to guide them. And you have to set that skill set. You have to have that set of values. And it's not the 40s and 50s anymore when there's a nuclear family. I mean, everything is so dynamic and changing so often. It's hard to keep up. And with the onset of social media, it's even harder to try to be that voice in your child's head when they're spending so much time on the internet and hearing all these other ideas and opinions and voices. And it can get confusing when you're young, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, especially when you hear someone voice something that you like to hear as much as stuff that you need to hear. Because there's a big difference between wants and needs.
Just the difference between living in an echo chamber and hearing opposing points of views without just sitting there screaming at each other. You know, sit down at a table and talk about it. It's a lot easier than just screaming people down that disagree with you and tell them that they're wrong and they're horrible people. That's not.
Mm-hmm.
People can disagree and still be best friends.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I would like to think the time in the time frame that I've grown up between the late '80s to now mid 2020s, which is wild to say. Yeah, I've been around enough people, especially with my current career as a rideshare driver, to where I've seen had the pleasure of being around and utter disgust of being around people of all shapes, walks of life, colors, employment, political views, and whatnot, to where, yeah, not everybody has to agree all on the same thing. It's okay to have a difference in opinion. Where we will progress as a society is once we understand not everyone has to agree on the same thing.
That is true. There also still has to be a direction that it's led to for the better. It's like with everything, you know, the pendulum swings one way or the other, like I said. And you have time periods where everything is extraordinarily liberal. You have others where it's extraordinarily conservative. And it looks to be that it's starting to swing back toward the more conservative aspect. But it happens all the time. It takes years, but it does happen. Everything swings back and forth. And people get sick and tired of it one way and they want to try it the other way. It will always be that way forever. And that's what keeps things interesting, but it also keeps things moving forward.
As far as that goes, yeah, if it's anything that you could take away from this episode for the viewers out there, is it's okay to have your own opinion, but when you're trying to make everyone believe your own opinion, then it's not opinion at that point.
Kind of being a bully. No one likes a bully.
No one likes a bully, but in the same token, yeah, just be you. No sense of forcing it on anyone. No sense of trying to deem that you're always correct. Yes.
Hell, I'm wrong 90% of the time. I'm sure of it.
Hell, 90.
But I'm not going to make anyone believe my bullshit.
90% of the time? Shit, I wish I was that believable.
I mean, like I said, 3 ex-wives later, I'm pretty sure I've been wrong my entire life.
Mm-hmm. And to that, Ryan, always a pleasure.
Sure.
Until next time, this is Raymond at Intoxication Station. Thank you for watching. Follow us on all of our social media accounts that we have. Until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye, guys.